Hello, this is episode 9.3, and I continue my least favorite. In fact, it's not my favorite, most detested year in my entire life. That really was a huge setback. One of the many setbacks I had in life, but this was probably the first setback I had in life. So, like I said, I was away from school for a whole month. I was sick for a whole month. And then I got okay. They discovered that I was allergic to some medication. And, anyways, um, I eventually got okay. And it was time to head back to school. The original plan was that I'd only miss school during the exams, and I'd already given or taken uh, three of the exams. So only maths, science, and social studies was left, and three papers were left. And after that, they thought it'll be Dasera holidays, and I'll be back on track. I'll have plenty of time to recover. But due to circumstances, I actually wasn't back in school until after a whole nearly a month and a quarter, after 35 days, almost a month and a half, was when I returned back to school. In by which state I had already missed uh, three three to four full weeks of school. And so I was very nervous about what all I missed and how I would make up. uh, However, I was not prepared as to how much homework I'll have to make up, because they wouldn't just let me start off exactly where I left off, because then they felt that I wouldn't be on par with the other kids. So, they meaning the teachers, etc. So, the first thing I did was during the classes, I was hoping to catch up, but the first 1 week I had to just make up for the exams that I had not taken. And because the report cards had already come out, the results had already come out of the exams, I got some new papers, which was fine. They couldn't give me the same paper in case the paper, was shared with me by someone, which it wasn't, but they couldn't give me the same paper. And the other worst thing was they couldn't give me a rank because the report cards had already come out. So they said, we'll just give her a grade. So I got an A grade. So there used to be in my class of 86 people, first to 10 ranks, and then everybody got A, B, C, D, or F. So I got an A grade. I felt very lost. I knew that I wouldn't be getting a rank, but I was very lost. I didn't know whether I had caught up at an academic level or not, because there was no rank, and I used to be a first ranker until then. So I was very confused about that. Confused, a little unsure, and insecure, very insecure too about did I really make up. Then there was this boatload of shipload, I would say, ship's load of homework to make up. Uh, the English, Telugu, and Hindi I made up pretty soon on my own. I used to spend 3-4 hours a day doing just that. But the my biggest problem was it was a moving target. It was like as I was catching up with the old homework, new homework was getting piled on every day. So I was always behind in homework. So my dad noticed this, and he really didn't want me to be behind. And he asked me what the problem was. I said, the problem is that I'm always catching up. So I miss like today's homework, right? Like, because I can't, according to the school, I couldn't do today's homework until I caught up to that day. And there was, you know, 15 days, 3-4 weeks worth of catching up to do. So still I caught up in the languages and social studies. They used to not give much homework in social studies, so I caught up to that. But science and maths, there used to be homework every day, some diagram, 15 problems, 20 problems every day, and it was a very advanced level. So I could never catch up because every day more homework was piling on. and they would not let me get to that point until I caught up. But they would not give me a punishment or anything either, also for not doing the homework, because they knew I was in the catch up mode. So slowly in maths, I started falling behind. Because they would not, I couldn't even do the homework of what was taught that day. So it wasn't getting registered in my head because I was in that catch up mode. So in science, also I was in the catch up mode as far as homework was concerned, but I did not fall behind. The reason I did not fall behind was science was very process driven subject. So there was no formulae to memorize, no multiplication tables to memorize, nothing like that. There was no memorization. A lot of people think that biology is memorization, but for me it was not, because I had a good memory. Once the teacher drew the picture like of a digestive system and explained everything, just with sheer memory, I would just remember it. I didn't have to memorize it. I would understand it. I would catch up right away. I didn't need to do catch up with the homework to understand what was being taught. But for maths, it was a whole different thing. So I started struggling in maths a lot because all of this homework that was being, there was so much homework to catch on to. So my father was came and met the maths teacher at her home, uh, and he said she's really struggling with catching up. And the lunch break, they used to give it to me in lunch break, is not good enough. Is there a student whose homework we can go and whose homework books we can take and borrow, of course, with your permission, and understand and catch up with the homework like that, because it's just getting out of hand and we're kind of fo- following a moving target. So the teacher gave the name of Lakshmi. Lakshmi was again my Amama's childhood, my Amama's friend's daughter, because my Amama had all these younger friends, and actually her mother was my mom's age, and her mother and my mother were actually pregnant at the same time, and we were born just a few weeks apart. She was 3 weeks older than me, actually. And in my absence, she became the first ranker. First two tests, I was the first ranker, but the third unit test, she became the first ranker. In the not third unit test, actually, third unit test hadn't happened. The quarterly exam, she became the first ranker out of there. So it made most sense that since I was the first ranker before, it made more sense, and all obviously her notes will be, her being the first ranker will be very superior. So it made more sense that we just take her notes. So my dad took me to her home, and I still remember this scene. I had like always like I identified with her face, but she was not my friends. She was not my friend until then. But her mom and my mama were very, very good friends before. So they were kind of family friends, but Lakshmi and I were not friends. So we went to her home, and my dad talked to her dad, and they said yes, yes, of course. Then she said, Uncle, yeah, I can give you, but I need it back. I can give you my books for 1 hour every day, but after 1 hour, I need it back. So what my dad started doing is, poor thing, he would take her books, and he only had 1 hour, okay, the maths books, and he would quickly he would take my notebook, and he himself would copy down all the homework, because there was so much catching up to do. Until I caught up, I could not do the homework of this day. So he wanted to catch me up. So he started copying, because we only had 1 hour to copy all the notes, all the homework assignments. So he'd copy it very quickly, 1 hour. And then soon, within a couple of days, poor thing, within 5, 6 days, he had caught up to 90% of the homework. He just copied it, and I was also feeling very relieved. Otherwise, as a child, to have the first rank and then giving up my dance, I was very anxious. Even now, after so many decades, when I even speak of this incident, I get anxious. I feel that anxiety. It was very traumatic for me to go in there every day and not understand what was going on in class and not be allowed to. I was understanding, but I couldn't practice that homework because I had this catching up to do. So he was 90% there, and I was feeling a big sense of relief. But somehow at that point, my brother was a little older. So he had his own thoughts, and he kind of had a philosophical debate at that point of time with my father. And basically, he felt that I wouldn't learn if my dad was actually doing my homework, the catching up portion, not the current one. He said, "You focus on the current one, I'll do the catching up." So he said, "How can she do the current one? If you are the one doing the catch up, how will she understand?" So that was the debate. So my dad said, "No, no, no, I'll teach her." Then my brother said, "No, no, I'll quiz her." So he sat me down on the current homework, and out of sheer nervousness and also the questions that he was asking me, multiplication tables, which I was not I didn't have know my multiplication tables. I never memorized anything. I used to just remember, and I used to struggle, but I couldn't do it. I was just not good at it. Even now, I can't memorize stuff, but I remember stuff very, very well. So I guess it evens out. So I didn't know any of the multiplication tables. So he told my dad, no, you shouldn't be doing her homework because first of all, it's wrong, and secondly, she won't learn. So she should do it on her own. So my dad agreed, and he gave me Lakshmi's books. He still helped, but I never got out of that catching up mode because I was always like, I was not as fast as him. I couldn't write as fast as him. I didn't understand half the things I was copying, and then I had to do my own homework for that day also. So I was in a catch up mode. But somehow my dad used to monitor me. He used to sit next to me, and somehow I caught up to the maths homework. Somehow, I have no idea how I did it. It was many hours and much help from my father. But he had got me till 90%, so I had about 10% of catching up to do. I caught up. But for a permanent basis, it impeded my learning because the catching up took so much of my time that I was always behind in classes from that point onwards for life till college. That's another story I'll tell you. But anyway, I caught up with the homework. But the science, I couldn't take any time to catch up, and nobody was helping me either. My dad wasn't helping me in the science. So that was still pending. But I didn't see that so much of an issue because I was very good at biology. Because it was so process oriented and everything was linked to a diagram. And I was a very visual person. As soon as I saw the diagram, I just remembered everything. I didn't forget a single thing. And all the names of the enzymes, I didn't have to even open the book and read it. Once I saw it, it was I had a photographic memory, so I still do. So I remembered everything. But the homework wasn't caught up. Then randomly, these teachers used to suddenly check the homework. They trusted that you did the homework, but maths teachers used to check almost every other day. That's why maths was a priority. But the science teachers checked every once in a while. So, unluckily for me, what happened was the science teacher that we had until then, she retired or transferred out or something. She was an army officer's wife. So, she transferred out. And then we had the teacher who used to teach the A section, the other section. They said, "Okay, why don't you take over?" So, it was the first week of her, couple of weeks she had taken over. She had no idea that I was once upon a time a first ranker, and that I was out sick, and that my parents were very engaged with the teachers and they were all helping. They all kind of, let it go. They knew that I was catching up onto the homework. She didn't know any of that background. So she did a random check of the homework. And we were all supposed to have, done our homework, and I had lot of catch up to do. I hadn't touched the science at all, homework wise. So she opened the science science notebook, and the first couple of chapters were there because this was before I had the sickness. Then 1 month of homework work was not there. And then after that came back to school, I left blank pages. We used to leave blank pages to do that. And then after the blank pages, again I had the last 2 weeks worth of work. Because I would, but I had never caught up. So she found the blank pages, and she didn't scold me or anything. I think when she was about to scold me, punish me, I think Lakshmi was the one who spoke up, and she said, "No, teacher, she had a fever or something, and so you can't like hit her or something like that, punish her." So she said she just nodded and she scrawled something like really big, covering the whole page. And she shut it and gave it to me. I had no idea what she scrawled, okay, but I knew she scrawled, she covered the whole page with it. Some one short thing, like it only took her a second. She scrawled something and gave it to me. So I was worried to open it, what she wrote there. So I was worried to open it in front of everybody. But around lunch break or something, when I got like a private moment, I opened to see what she wrote, the science teacher wrote. And biology was my favorite subject. So in that, she had written in cursive, she had written lazy girl, incomplete work. This hit me very, 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 very badly. It affected me very badly. Somehow that label, I had never been called lazy until then. Never. I was always hardworking. I was always prim and proper. My homework was always on point. But somehow this impacted me so badly. I felt that's it. I'm lazy. That's why I couldn't do this. I couldn't catch up because of my laziness. And somehow I was convinced from that point onwards that I was lazy. And interestingly, I think I actually became lazy or whatever. And for many years, many people have called me lazy after that. But that was the starting point of it, when it kind of turned and I actually became that person just by seeing that. It impacted me terribly, like I was devastated. Then I then around this time another unit test happened, and because of all this catching up and all that, the unit test results came out. Remember that I was a first ranker until then. I got seventh rank. And it seems so strange because in a class of 86, our seventh rank is still in the top 10% of students. So, but 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 I didn't see it like that. For me, it was like, and I was still part of the clevers, right? But I had never seen a seventh rank like in my life until then. It was the first time. And this happened literally 1 or 2 days after this lazy girl incomplete work. And somehow it affected me very, very badly. I was devastated. So I was convinced in my mind that I was like a really mediocre intelligence, of average intelligence, and that I was lazy, and I could never ever be a first ranker my whole life. I didn't have it in me, and because I was lazy and I was mediocre intelligence. I was really devastated. Thought it was the most like shameful thing. I didn't know how to show the report card, and it's funny because seventh rank is like so pretty darn good for what all I went through, but I didn't see it that way. Um, I didn't know how to face my parents. I didn't know how to show this report card to them. I was very ashamed of myself, and I was very ashamed. I was didn't want to face this teacher again, when she wrote that. So I came home, and I think I did show my report card to my parents, and to my surprise, they were like, yeah, that's good. You did good. Congratulations or something. They didn't say anything to me because, of course, they knew what I went through. But somehow I don't know, I took the wrong message out of their generosity or niceness, I guess. I thought, oh, they're feeling it's good because that's all they expect out of me. They know, everybody knows. Like, not only am I of average intelligence and lazy, but everybody knows that I am average and lazy and good for nothing. Everybody knows now, everybody has found out. So I went into like kind of like a very deep, depression or some kind of anxiety. I don't know what it was. But, anyways, the next day we went to school. I didn't want to face the teacher. I didn't want to face anybody because now I was like, oh, everybody in the school knows that I'm not a first ranker. And it was so funny. Like, nobody even cares. But, when you're a child, you think everybody's looking at you and judging you. And maybe people are, some people are, maybe. So, anyways, Hussein, my driver, dropped me off at school. And I got off the bus and then I went into the gate and I couldn't face anybody. I turned right back and went to my grandma's house. So I told them, oh, I'm not feeling well. And they believed me because, I had just come out of a very, very bad sickness for so many days. And my grandfather was used to not spend much time with me, but when somebody was sick, my grandfather was the kindest. He would not ask any questions. He would always say, health is more important than anything else. If you want to quit school for a whole year, quit school for a whole year. So my tataya, used to always say health is the biggest wealth. So no questions asked. He was normally, I was not that close to him at all, and he hardly spent any time with us. My mom was his favorite child. He used to come and have lunch with her every day. Just like my Appa Ramaya was my Amama's favorite child, my mom was my Tataya's favorite child, undoubtedly. At least we knew. But with us, he didn't have much. We had more rapport with our Amama. So he said, no, 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 don't worry, take rest. So I thought this went well. So for a whole week, I would just keep going back. Like my driver would drop off, then I would go, and in the evening, like my parents didn't pick me up, I would take the rickshaw and go home. So nobody knew that I was cutting class, and my parents didn't come to my Amama's house. Then, after a week, I think my grandfather came to visit us. And then when I saw him at the entrance, I quickly went and I I pulled him down and I whispered in his ear, don't tell anybody that, I'm having the stomach ache, that I'm not going to school. Then he said, okay, okay, I won't tell. So actually, he didn't tell, but my mom saw me whispering something into his ears. So she asked my amma, and my amma said, yeah, she says she has stomach ache. She's not been going to school for a whole week. So they asked me what is wrong, why are you not going, and this and that. So I said, yeah, I was not feeling well and all that. They kind of bought it, but then when they got me checked and all, they said, no, 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 you have to go to school. Poor things, they went, they asked me what is wrong, is some teacher too strict and this and that. They talked to all the teachers to say, please don't be strict on her. They even talked to the kids who used to be bullying me. They asked me, is somebody bullying you? I told them about the incident where people would say, if you don't speak in English, speak in Telugu, I'll throw you in the canal and all. They talked to their parents, they talked to the school. They did all that. But for me, more than the teacher being strict or whatever, it was just my own thing that I couldn't live up to some expectations that I had of myself. And I just felt so, like, ashamed that I was lazy and I was this thing. So it was a very traumatic period for me. So now I knew that I couldn't cut school and go back. So what I did is, the next time when So I went to school for maybe for a couple of days, but then again, all the overwhelming, the more I stayed away from school, the more the backlog built, and the more I was lost in this maths class. I was intelligent enough that everywhere else I could catch up, even though I missed school. But in maths, I couldn't catch up because it was very, very formula driven. And if you didn't know the formula or the method, if you didn't memorize it or didn't practice it, you were lost. So, math soon became my most hated subject. Probably not because I was bad at it, but because I didn't have any practice. So, and then there was a math exam. I knew I'd do terribly in it. So, sure enough, the driver dropped me one day and I turned around, did a U turn. I couldn't go to my grandmother's place. So, I started roaming the streets all around. But then some classmates ran into me. This was only happened once. and then and then they reported it to my teacher. My teacher reported it to my parents. And then they started saying, "You're running away from school now." So I was like, they really didn't know what to do. And they said, "You have to go to school." So now they personally asked the driver to drop me all the way to the classroom and come back. So that's what the driver used to do. So I got very desperate because I was performing, I thought I was performing badly. Actually, there were 70 more kids who were performing worse than me, but according to my standards, I was performing badly in maths. I couldn't understand anything that was being taught. I was struggling to catch up. And then, so at that point, I just wished that I would like fall sick again. So during, and do not, I'm going to tell you some bizarre things. Please do not attempt. If you're a kid and if you're my kids listening to it, do not attempt it. So during that time, a movie called Sita Kokachiluka had released. It was a Telugu movie. So in that, the heroine and hero are in they're in, one is a Christian and one is a Brahmin boy, and they're in love, and they're forcefully trying to get the heroine married away the next day. It's like a Romeo Juliet type of story. And then he doesn't want her to get married, and they want to run away and get married, but he doesn't want her marriage to happen. So that night he sneaks into her home and gives her a piece of onion, cut onion, and he says, "Put it in your underarms, in your armpit, and sleep. So next day you'll get fever." So next day she gets high fever and her marriage gets cancelled or something like that. I saw this scene in a movie. So I thought, now I'll have to do it. So I went and cut 2 pieces of onions and put them in my armpits and underarms and slept all night. Next day I woke up nothing. I was perfectly normal. By the way, I do put onion juice in my hair and it gives me a headache. It caused me a fever. So it actually is true, but somehow maybe it was not effective here. I should have put it in my head maybe. So nothing, everything was normal. They still sent me to school and I wrote that math exam. God knows. I actually did pretty okay, but for me it was terrible. I think I got like 70 marks out of 100 or something like that. But for me, it was terrible. 70 out of 100 was terrible for me. I was used to seeing 98, 97 like that. And my brother also in maths, he used to score like that. My dad was very good in maths, so it was very shameful for me to get only 70. I didn't know how to deal with it. Then again I started going to school, and I did not know how to catch up with homework. I didn't understand anything. Then I tried one more thing. I thought, okay, this onion thing is not working. So upstairs they had constructed the floor, but they were still doing some final stages of remodeling in the second floor. So in our bathroom, my mom wanted tile. She had selected a blue and white speckled tile, very beautiful tile, but that was not available in enough quantity. So they were waiting for that tile to come. And what they used to do, and even now, maybe they do it even now, in construction sites, if they want to put a plaster, first they put the cement, and before plastering it, just so that there's enough friction, before the cement gets completely hardened, what they do is they take 2 sticks, like 2 matchsticks or 2 forked prong like sticks, and they draw a wavy pattern like this. And then the cement hardens and there's all like hardened pieces of cement in that wavy pattern. It was like two waves like this. They draw it across the whole wall, and they draw it all over the wall. So I thought with the cement hardening, and it was very, very rough texture. So when I went for my bath, I got an idea. I thought this is a rough textured wall. It's not a flat wall. So maybe if I hit my head against it, I'll get like an injury, and then I'll bleed, and they won't send me to they won't send me to school the next day. So I went and hit my head, and I hurt it so bad. And I still wasn't bleeding, only one bump came here. And I also now got afraid that I'll die because I didn't want to die. I just wanted to like injure myself and be at home. So nothing worked. Only one bump came, and nobody even noticed that bump except my Bama noticed it. She said, "You have a bump here." I said, "Yeah," but nobody even noticed it because my forehead was so big and I think the bump was covered. So I had to go to school. So somehow or the other, uh, like this, struggling, somehow or the other, I finished that whole year. I don't know how I finished that whole year, but I remember these incidents. But at the end of the year, um, I got fifth rank, okay, which when I look back is a fantastic achievement. But for me, it was devastating. I got it because I had scored very high in English and the languages. I scored high in science also. I was very good in biology. Social studies was a little low. Math was quite low, like 70s. But overall, the thing made up, and I got fifth rank. So by this time, what had happened is when I told my parents about the bullying, they also set me up with Lakshmi to not come back in a rickshaw. They wanted me to walk to the bus stop with Lakshmi and ride home in the bus with Lakshmi. So Lakshmi and I, in this process, became good friends. We are completely different people, but in this process, we became good friends. And I started confiding in her quite a bit. So this was the last day of school, and I I started, saying, I was very, very forlorn. I was very scared to show this fifth rank, and I felt, what is this? I'm such an average student, such a mediocre student. I just have the fifth rank in class, and I was very depressed. But thankfully, this year was over. So then I was walking home, and I was showing her my report card. So, and she was the first ranker. She was very competitive or in a healthy way. So she got the first rank. So she's like, "What rank did you get?" And then she said, "No, no, 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 I won't show it. I won't show it." Then she got, "Oh, you must have got second, right?" I said, "No, no, 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 I won't show it. I won't show it." Then finally she grabbed it and she saw that you got fifth. She said, "Oh, you got fifth." Then I became very depressed. I said, yeah, I got fifth and all. Then she said, "Why are you feeling so sad?" Then I said, "You know what? Like, my family is all so intelligent, so bright. Everybody, my dad is so intelligent, my mom is so intelligent, my brother is so intelligent. And my sister is also very intelligent for her age. She's only 1 year, but she's already like, she was already walking and talking and all that, like very advanced." So she said, I am the only like, Moddu. She said, "You're not." Then she had this amused look on her face. Like she started laughing. I thought she's laughing at me. Then she said, "Do you know who the most intelligent girl in the class is?" Then I said, "Yeah, it's you. Of course, you are the first ranker." She said, "No, it's you. You are the most intelligent girl in a class of 86 people. And I have to struggle very, very, very hard to keep up with you. And if you didn't have this setback, you might have got the first rank. I always consider you as my biggest competition, when I used to get the second rank. And even now, if you put your heart into it, you can still beat me, and I know that." So it was very gracious of her to say this to me. It meant a lot to me. And I actually believed her, and I knew she was being genuine. She was not just saying that to make me feel good. I felt very good. I felt very grateful because I think that set me off for, I thought, okay, like so she said, all you need to do for next year is do what I do, get the books ahead of time, revise everything. I actually read all the first three chapters, first 10 chapters of all the books before I actually even joined school. That's how hard I work. And but you got fifth rank without working that hard at all. And I know you didn't work hard. And I know you had these setbacks, but do that. So I was very pumped up about doing that. Anyway, that was the last day of my fourth grade. And I was hoping that, okay, I hope I don't enter fifth grade like this. But yeah, it was a very depressing year for me. And, but what I learned from this year, from that is, just one person is enough to give you that confidence. Nothing was going right for me. And just that small conversation from Lakshmi, like to say that, I'm worth it, I deserve where I need to be, I can do better, made so much of a difference. It ended the year well for me. Otherwise, the year was terrible. So, in life, if you're ever in a position to pick somebody up from where they are, like it might just be one conversation. I'm sure Lakshmi doesn't remember this conversation at all, but it might mean a lot to the other person. They may be completely down in the dumps and they may be going through a lot, and your kindness could mean a lot to somebody. You could actually be saving somebody's life, you could be pulling somebody out of depression. So always be kind because I know it's cliched, but because you don't know what battles the others are fighting. Okay, with that, I'll close and I'll continue with maybe 9.4 or 10.0. I don't know. I'll think about it. Okay, bye.